Osei, why don't you share a few scraps of what you've picked up while coaching Yoon Jae-ha? I'm all ears.
I caught it in your voice, Vice Chairman. You've already put a hit out on me, haven't you?
Right in the heart of Gangnam, Seoul Osei Voice Lab. Vice Chairman Kang Dojin of Jaya Group pushed open the studio door and walked in. Silver hair, custom suit, the kind of man who wore a perfect smile like a second skin. In his hand was a white envelope. Don't get the wrong idea, Ms. Osei. Think of it as a consulting fee. All you have to do is share a few things you see and hear while coaching Chairman Yun. Just a little. 11 a.m. Across the table didn't touch the envelope. Long box braids falling past her chest. Deep, luminous skin. Sharp, steady eyes. Imani Osei. Those eyes moved from the envelope to Kang Dojin, one long, unhurried look. Then she spoke. Mr. Kang, I caught it in your voice. You've already told someone to take care of me, haven't you? Kang Dojin's smile froze completely for the first time. In all his years of walking into rooms and getting what he wanted, not one person had ever said anything like that to his face. The second Kang was out the door, the side room flew open. Park Ji-woo, Imani's best friend and studio assistant, stood there with a coffee cup in each hand and eyes the size of dinner plates. Hey, was that the vice chairman of Jaya Group? Did you just tell the vice chairman of Jaya Group to get out? Yep, I almost spilled both coffees. My heart. Imani picked up the envelope and dropped it in the trash without missing a beat. 5 layers of lies in a voice means I don't deal with them. That's my rule, but honestly, I really want to know how much was in that envelope. Osei Voice Lab, floor-to-ceiling windows in the middle of Gangnam, Seoul. Outside, Namsan Tower, the iconic landmark that watches over the whole city, stood clear and steady through the morning haze. On one studio wall hung a framed piece of kente cloth, the bold geometric fabric woven in Ghana with gold, red, and green. Across from it sat a single white Joseon-era celadon vase, a traditional Korean ceramic, quiet and precise as still water. Seoul and Accra, sharing one room. That was Imani Osei in a nutshell. Imani Osei, Ghanaian Korean, second generation. Box braids falling past her chest, her signature. The thing that entered every room about 2 seconds before the rest of her did. Deep, luminous skin. Eyes so steady that people started telling the truth before they realized they were doing it. Her actual job was reading the layers of truth and deception buried inside a human voice. Pitch, pace, the exact moment a syllable breaks. 3-month waiting list. Never wrong. Lies stack up in layers inside a voice. 1 layer? A mistake. 2 layers? A habit. 3 layers? Someone made a decision. That same afternoon, a different call came in Jaya Group, Executive Secretary's office. A direct coaching request from Chairman Yoon Jae himself. Triple the standard rate, already deposited. The vice chairman comes to bribe you in the morning, and the chairman sends a coaching request in the afternoon. On the same day. That's not suspicious at all, right? It's suspicious. That's exactly why I have to go. Normal people run from suspicious things, you know that? Imani already had her jacket. Ji-woo exhaled, muttered something under her breath, and followed. That was always how it went with them. Jaya Group headquarters, 37th floor conference room. The second the door opened, Imani felt it before she saw it. AC cranked way too cold. A table full of untouched coffee cups. That specific, suffocating atmosphere of people who gathered to look cooperative while being the opposite. One lone USB drive sitting in the center of the table like a tiny suspicious gift. Then Kang Dojin walked in first. Same smile from this morning. Imani's expression didn't move a millimeter. I was a little clumsy earlier. Let's start fresh, Ms. Osei. I haven't chosen a side, Mr. Kang. This time, the smile didn't reach his eyes. Imani clocked it. Kang stepped out. Then Yoon Jae walked in. Sunglasses, charcoal jacket, not a single wasted step. He stopped near the window, facing her direction, though with those sunglasses, facing was a generous word. Here's something Imani wouldn't find out until much later. He'd started wearing sunglasses exactly 5 years ago. The same time something inside Jaya Group had first started going wrong. There were eyes that needed hiding. But that story would come much later. Shareholder meeting in 3 weeks. I need a speech. Imani didn't touch the USB. She looked at him for one quiet, deliberate beat. One of Jaya's assistants broke eye contact with the floor for no explainable reason. Then Imani opened her mouth. Chairman Yun, you can fool people's eyes but you can't fool the air in a room. Your voice just changed the temperature in here 3 times. The conference room went completely still. 3 assistants held their breath simultaneously. In all the years of working for Yun Jaya, nobody had ever talked to him like that. In the U.S., the FDA Food and Drug Administration enforces data integrity. Jaya's mouth opened. How many layers can you read? Imani didn't blink. She heard something shift in his voice, not a lie. Curiosity, which, honestly, was a little more dangerous. I'll consider it. One condition. For the entire coaching period, you don't lie to me. Not with your words. Not with your voice. Every assistant in the room looked at Jaya at once. He gave one slow, deliberate nod. What moved behind those sunglasses nobody could say. 3 layers. First, 1 business. Second, fear. Third, I don't have a name for it yet. In the U.S., the Dodd-Frank Act and the Sarbanes-Oxley Act protect people who report corporate fraud. Imani felt eyes on her back. In the reflection of the hallway glass, she caught Kong Dojin watching from the far end of the corridor. Smile still in place, eyes not smiling at all. She stepped into the elevator like she hadn't seen a thing. As the doors closed, she let out a quiet breath. 2 men's voices today, one with 5 layers, one with 3. And both of them in the same building. She'd already known this wasn't a simple coaching job. She'd said yes anyway because the 3rd layer didn't have a name yet, and she needed to know what it was. First coaching session, 10 a.m. Imani unlocked the studio to find Jaya already there 15 minutes early. Standing by the window with Namsan Tower in the frame behind him like a movie poster. Imani filed that away immediately. Either he was anxious, or he liked to scope the territory before the other person arrived. Wait, that's the chairman? Why is he wearing sunglasses inside? I mean, it works, but... Jiwoo, got it. I'll be in the back room. Jiwoo clamped a hand over her mouth and disappeared. The tiniest shift crossed Jaya's brow. Imani caught it. Imani didn't hand him a speech draft. She set a voice recorder on the table. Say 1 sentence. The thing you least want to say right now. Jaya went quiet. Imani counted silently. 1 second. 2, 3, 4. In Korean, the way a sentence ending drops the weight of the final syllable, it carries emotional truth that's genuinely hard to fake. The deeper the feeling, the longer it takes to surface. 5 seconds in, Jaya spoke. I don't want to win this shareholder meeting. Imani's hand stopped cold, still resting on the recorder button. 3 days in, Imani found the numbers. Phase 3 clinical trial results, same drug, 2 different figures in the same document. Too consistent to be a typo. Cardiovascular side effect rates, listed significantly lower than they should have been. Every single discrepancy went in one very specific direction. She closed the file and sat very still. If these numbers went public at the shareholder meeting, doctors would prescribe based on wrong risk data. Patients would receive the drug without proper warnings. A number on a slide was about to walk into someone's body. This isn't a typo. It has a direction. And at the end of that direction, there are people. End of that day's session, the studio door opened without a knock. Choi Seoyeon, Jaya Group's head of legal. Early 40s, hair pulled back, tablet in hand. Voice like warm honey, eyes like cold steel. Ms. Osei, how's the material review going? If anything feels unclear, please come to me first. I'm here to help. Thank you. Imani gave the shortest possible answer and quietly categorized what she'd just heard. Underneath that warmth calculation, this was a checking-in voice. She'd come to find out what Imani had discovered. She's in this game too. That evening, a note slid under the studio door. Handwritten, if you've seen the data, find me. It's much bigger than you think. Oh, that was it. Imani stared at it for a long moment. What is that? Is this a movie? Imani, this is getting way too real. I think I know who sent it. How? Light pen pressure. Someone who's been scared for a long time writes like that. Jiwoo looked at the note and then quietly said, Imani, I'm actually scared right now. Next session, Imani spread the documents open in front of Jaya. Chairman Yun, did you change these numbers? He didn't answer, but Imani wasn't listening to his silence, she was listening to his breath. A half-beat delay on the inhale right after her question. The pause of someone holding something back. Remember our deal? No lying. Not with your voice, not with your words. I didn't make those numbers. Low, steady, no break in the rhythm. Imani knew it was the truth. She also knew it wasn't the whole truth. As the session ended and Imani reached for her bag, Jaya stopped walking first. Doesn't this scare you? Knowing is always less scary than not knowing. That's just how it works for me. Jaya looked at her through the sunglasses. In that silence, Imani read something. The third layer, still nameless, had moved a little closer. Late that night, while Imani was out, one of Choi Seoyeon's people slipped into the studio under the pretense of cleaning. They plugged a USB into Imani's computer and planted something. Imani didn't know yet, but Choi Seoyeon already did. The trap had been set. That night, Imani cross-referenced the clinical data against public pharmaceutical filings. An hour later, her hands went still. This wasn't a discrepancy. This was two completely different versions of the truth. Outside, the Han River, Seoul's wide, gentle river the whole city seems to lean toward, held the city lights in long, rippling streaks across the water. Two cars were parked out front now, and Imani finally understood she hadn't taken a coaching job. She'd walked into someone's game. A game that had been set up long before she arrived. Day 10. 3 cars out front, different plates every single day, same make and same parking angle. Whoever was doing this wasn't even trying to be creative about it. Imani checked the CCTV camera positions on the way in and kept walking. Pretending not to notice was the only card she had left. Imani, the cars are back. 3 today. I know. I'm scared to come to work now. Are you not scared? I'm scared, but I'm more curious. That's the problem. Jiwoo sighed and made 2 cups of coffee. It was the best she could do. 11 a.m. The studio door opened and Kang Dojin walked in. Alone this time. No assistants. The smile was still there, but the voice had changed, lower, slower. The voice of someone applying pressure. Ms. Osei, how far have you gotten? About what? Playing dumb doesn't suit you. The clinical data. Imani looked at him for one beat. She read his voice. 2 layers. One layer was a warning. The other was fear. The people who lead with threats are almost always the ones who are most afraid. She'd known that for years. Back off now, and I can make your booking records, your bank accounts, your tax filings all disappear under a very uncomfortable spotlight. One small thing is all it takes to end a career like yours. The studio went quiet. Jiwoo was holding her breath in the back room. Imani stood up slowly. Her box braids swayed with the movement. She looked directly at Kang Dojin and spoke. Mr. Kang, if you're going to threaten someone, you really should manage your voice better. There's a tremor in it right now. Kang's smile disappeared completely for the first time. Imani kept going. Scared people threaten first. I've heard that pattern hundreds of times. Kang stood. On his way out, he turned back once. You'll regret this. That's the second time I've asked you to leave. The second the door closed, Jiwoo burst out from the back room. Imani, what did you just do? That man is genuinely dangerous. I know, you know, and you still said that. Someone who threatens you because they're scared is not the most dangerous kind. It means they have something to lose if they get caught. At that exact moment, Imani's phone buzzed. The executive secretary's office. The translation documents she'd helped prepare had been leaked outside the company. Traced back to her computer. Choi Seoyeon. That night, an hour later, Choi Seoyeon showed up at the studio. Looking appropriately concerned, voice warm as ever. Ms. Osei, this must be so stressful. We'll investigate internally. Do you happen to have a habit of leaving your computer unlocked when you step away? Imani read her voice immediately. Not concern. Verification. She'd come to check that the trap had fired correctly. I'd really appreciate the investigation. When Choi was gone, Imani stared out the window. Kang's threat, Choi's trap, 2 people, 1 operation. And somewhere inside all of it Yun Jaya, with a story he still hadn't finished telling. That afternoon's session, Imani told Jaya everything: Kang's threat, the file leak, Choi's visit. She watched his face the entire time. Behind the sunglasses, The crease between his brows went deeper than she'd ever seen. The strongest reaction she'd gotten from him yet. I'm done coaching as of today. I'm a voice coach. I'm not a chess piece. Jaya was quiet for a long moment. Then he lowered his sunglasses slightly, just slightly. Imani saw what was there. Not coldness. Weight. 5 years of weight that had been carried alone. Bringing you into this was my mistake. Right at that moment a knock at the back door. Jiwoo opened it carefully. A middle-aged man stood outside. Thin frame, disheveled hair, dark circles so deep they looked permanent. Who are you? My name is Odalsa. Former researcher at Jaya Group. I'm the one who sent the note. Imani looked at him. Light pen pressure. There he was. Odalsa reached inside his jacket and pulled out a thick folder. Imani took it. I've been holding on to this for 5 years. Original clinical data before and after the manipulation, with timestamps showing who changed what and when. Vice Chairman Kong gave the orders. Legal team leader Choi carried them out. Jaya took the folder. The crease in his brow deepened again. Imani listened to his breath. This time it was relief, the exhale of someone who had been waiting 5 years for something to finally land in their hands. I was a coward. I held this for 5 years and did nothing. I'm sorry. Imani looked at Odalsa for one steady beat. No lie in his voice. Just guilt that had been sitting there for a very long time. It's not too late. The three of them left the studio close to midnight. The cars out front were gone. That was the unsettling part, not a relief. Gone meant they'd seen enough. Walking alongside Jaya, Imani listened to his footsteps. Steady, unhurried. For a man who just laid everything on the table, that was either very controlled or very practiced. There was still one thing he hadn't said. She didn't ask. Waiting until he was ready was the most honest thing she could do right now. There's a woman who reads people by their voices. The ones with 5 layers, she turns away. The ones with 3, she reads to the end. But here's what Imani hadn't calculated: the thing hiding inside 3 layers of lies wasn't only fear. Sometimes, before your head figures it out, your heart already knows exactly what it is. 3 days to the shareholder meeting. That morning, Imani unlocked the studio and found an envelope on her desk. Someone had gotten through a locked door. Inside 3 photographs. Imani and Jaya, leaving the building together. Timestamped 3 nights ago, just after midnight. And a handwritten note. Walk away before you become an accomplice. Last warning. Imani set the photos down and sat. Her hands were steady. Her mind was running fast. Kong was getting anxious. Anxious people crack first. She'd seen it too many times to count. That morning, Imani happened to be in the Jaya Group lobby when she witnessed Kong Dojin cornering Jaya. His voice had dropped to something low and deliberate. Jaya, you do this my way at the meeting, and that coach woman doesn't get touched. Too many inconvenient people are piling up. Jaya said nothing. After Kong walked away, Jaya looked up. His eyes met Imani's. Behind the sunglasses, she could read it even through the lenses. What was there was a decision. That afternoon, Choi Seoyeon called. The warmth was completely gone from her voice now. Ms. Osei, we'll be moving forward with legal action regarding the leaked documents. I'd appreciate your cooperation. What kind of cooperation are we talking about? If you share what you know about Chairman Yun, the leak incident goes away quietly. Imani hung up, then called for Jiwoo. Jiwoo, can you look into digital forensics firms for me? I need someone to examine my computer. Forensics? Imani, is this a drama or is this real life right now? Jiwoo grumbled the whole time and found 3 firms anyway. That was Jiwoo's way, scared out of her mind and still right there. The results would take 2 days. The shareholder meeting was in 2 days. Okay, real talk. When this is all over, do you think you're going to see him again? Why does that matter right now? You can read everyone else's heart just fine. Funny how your own is the one blind spot. Imani didn't answer. Jiwoo smiled and handed her a coffee. That evening, Odalsa came back. Both hands full, this time another folder, thicker than the first. This is the last file I've been holding for 5 years. 423 names. Real patients who experienced actual harm from the cardiovascular side effects of this drug. I documented everything: hospital records, dates, outcomes. The studio went silent. Imani opened the folder to the first page. Name after name, packed tight. Ages listed beside each one. The youngest name on the page had 23 written next to it. Imani closed the folder. Her eyes burned. 423 people. These are not numbers. The night before the meeting, Imani and Jaya stayed in the studio alone. Strategy. Read that paragraph at the meeting, the manipulated data paragraph. But stop for 3 seconds before you start it. Even knowing the numbers are false? Especially because you know, that 3-second pause will say everything that needs to be said. Jaya looked at her through the sunglasses for a long moment. End of the session. Imani was packing her bag when Jaya spoke from the window. Lower than usual. No break in it anywhere. I didn't hire you. I built a reason to keep you close. Imani went still, bag in hand, completely still. She listened to that sentence the way she listened to everything. Nothing false. No calculation. The most unguarded thing she'd heard from him since day one. She looked at him for one quiet beat. I know. That same night, Imani stayed in the studio alone and read the speech out loud. Not to imitate his voice, to feel what it needed to carry. Weight, pace, and 3 seconds of silence. You have to hold those 3 seconds. I'll handle everything else. Morning of the shareholder meeting. Imani had told herself she wasn't going. Coaching ends outside the door, that was the rule. But she stood at the building entrance and her feet wouldn't move forward. Funny thing about reading other people's voices for a living, when it's your own turn, you are completely useless at it. She turned around and walked toward the meeting hall. Jaya was at the entrance. He didn't look surprised. Without a word, he held out one earbud. Imani took it and put it in. Neither of them said a word about what that meant. Some things don't need a label. Jaya stepped up to the microphone. The room went quiet, the expensive kind of quiet, where everyone is holding something. 200 shareholders, 30 members of press, and Kang Dojin in the front row, smile intact. Imani stood by a pillar near the entrance, eyes closed, tracking Jaya's breathing through the earbud. Even and steady. He started page 1. Controlled. Nothing like the voice from that too-cold conference room. Good. She followed his rhythm like a metronome. Page 3 ended. Page 4 began. Imani's hand tightened on the pillar. Jaya stopped. 3 seconds. The wall clock's second hand was the loudest thing in the room. 1 through the earbud. His breath caught in his throat. A small, almost silent swallow. A slow, deliberate inhale through his nose. 2. Kang Dojin's smile flickered for the first time. 3. Those 3 seconds felt like 30 inside that room. Then Jaya opened his mouth. He was not reading the script. I will not be reading the third paragraph on page 4 today. Because I know, and I have known for 5 years, that those numbers are false. The room erupted. Imani opened her eyes. Kang Dojin stood up. The smile was completely gone now. His voice came out stripped of everything but anger. Jaya, what are you doing? Stop, right now. Jaya didn't stop. He closed the binder and kept going. 5 years came out of his voice all at once. The first day the data was changed. The day Kang ordered it. And Choi carried it out. The years of trying to stop it and being cut off at every turn. Imani listened for a lie. She didn't find one. 3 layers gone. What was left filled the room right up to the ceiling. Kang started moving toward the podium. At that exact moment, the back doors opened. 2 officials from Korea's Financial Supervisory Service, the regulatory body that oversees corporate transparency, walked through the back doors. Press followed. Oh Dalsu's 5-year whistleblower report was being officially filed at this exact moment. The last trace of Kang's smile drained from his face. Beside him, Choi Seoyeon reached for her phone and stopped. Her hand was shaking. Imani finally understood why Jaya had hired a voice coach. He needed to publicly reject the falsified data himself on the record, in front of cameras, in his own voice. That was the piece. And to make that piece land, the voice had to hold. I'm not here for either side today. I'm here for 423 people. Imani walked away from the pillar and into the room. Cameras turned. She didn't slow down. Her box braids moved with each step, full, steady, completely unbothered. She took the microphone stand beside the podium. The room went quiet again. Imani laid it all out, the translated documents, how her computer had been used, Kang's direct threats, Choi's trap step by step. Same voice she used in every coaching session. Right pace, right weight. Zero fear. That afternoon, Kang Dojin and Choi Seoyeon were escorted to the prosecutor's office. Kang walked out in restraints and still lifted his chin toward the cameras out of pure reflex. There was no smile left to offer. Choi walked out without a single word, head down, the sharpest, most calculated person in every room, going quietly. Everyone who'd been in that meeting hall would remember it for a long time. Jae lost the company. Everything he'd built over 5 years entered legal proceedings by sundown. He'd known that going in. He'd counted every cost and stepped forward anyway. Imani lost the contract too. But that evening, she left the studio lights on. Imani, you were incredible today. I almost cried in that meeting hall. Wait, you were there? Of course I was there. You think I was going to let you go alone? I was hiding behind a pillar the whole time. Imani laughed. First time all day. Jiwoo handed her a coffee and said, "So you think he's coming tonight?" Imani didn't answer, but she didn't turn off the lights either. The door opened just after 10 p.m. Jae, still wearing the sunglasses. Imani wasn't surprised. One last session? One sentence. Whatever you most want to say right now. He paused. Not 5 seconds this time. 2. Then Jae took off the sunglasses. For the first time, 5 years of hidden eyes. What was in them wasn't cold or calculated. It was the look of someone who had spent a very long time making sure nobody could see him, and those eyes were looking straight at her. I want to be near you. Imani listened to that sentence the way she listened to everything. Nothing false. No performance over it. 3 layers gone, and what had been underneath them all along, finally surfacing. There's not a single layer left in your voice. Jae smiled. The first real face she'd ever seen on him. Where the lies used to be, something quieter began. Imani turned off the studio lights one last time that night. The silver lettering on the door Osei Voice Lab still caught the glow from the hallway. Outside, the Han River held Seoul's city lights in long, shimmering lines across the water. Tomorrow the 3-month waitlist would still be full, but the voice that rang clearest in Imani's ears right now had no layers left in it at all. And the person that voice belonged to was waiting on the other side of the door. Imani picked up her bag and stepped out. That was enough. A woman who reads lies in voices. A man who wouldn't let anyone see his eyes. What's built on greed eventually falls from greed. What's held up by truth eventually gets to stand in the light. When 2 people finally put down their last layer in front of each other, the air in the room changed. For the first time, it was warm. Every voice carries words, every word carries feeling, and every feeling carries the full weight of everything a person has lived through. Kang Dojin and Choi Seoyeon tried to use voices to deceive, but here's what this story knows for certain: lies stack up fast, and they fall even faster. What Imani was really reading wasn't the deception, it was the fear hiding behind it, and the truth hiding behind that. We bury the most important things deepest because we're afraid of losing them, being seen, or falling apart. But here's what this story quietly offers: the more you hide the truth, the louder it gets. And courage isn't something you use alone, it's something you use with the person standing next to you. The bravest thing a person can do is take off the sunglasses and let someone actually see them. This story is a work of fiction. All characters, organizations, and events depicted are entirely fictional and created for storytelling purposes only. Real talk: what this story touches on. The science is real. Research in psycholinguistics, the study of how language and the brain interact, confirms that stress and deception genuinely alter vocal patterns. Pitch rises, speech rate shifts, and micro pauses appear in unexpected places. FBI behavioral analysts, hostage negotiators, and trained therapists all study vocal cues as real tools. Your ears are more powerful than you think. Clinical data integrity actually matters. Every medication you've ever taken passed through clinical trials. When those results get falsified, doctors prescribe based on wrong information, and patients pay the price. In the U.S., the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, enforces data integrity. In Korea, it's the MFDS, Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. The 423 names in this story are fictional, but the real-world harm when pharmaceutical data gets manipulated is not. Whistleblowers are protected and brave. Oh Dalsu's story is fiction, But whistleblowing is real and it matters. In the U.S., the Dodd-Frank Act and the Sarbanes-Oxley Act protect people who report corporate fraud. In Korea, the Public Interest Whistleblower Protection Act does the same. 5 years is a long time to carry something alone. But it's never too late. 2 cultures, 1 identity, that's a superpower. Imani's studio held both a kente cloth and a celadon vase. That wasn't decoration, it was identity. Being rooted in more than one culture isn't a contradiction. It's a wider lens. The world needs people who can hold 2 things at once. The takeaway: you don't need to read voices for a living to use what this story teaches. Listen more carefully to others, and to yourself. The truth has a sound. Learn what it feels like when you're saying something you believe versus something you don't. And when the moment comes to take off the sunglasses, take them off. Crafting the story with care. Behind the scenes.